Now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back. It's another week of the Pick and Go podcast ready to go, and the dynamic trio are all back in the studio together. As you can see, to my left is Paul Moari. Paul, how are you? Feeling energetic?
No.
Okay, good to know. So that's something to look forward to, punters. And
a lot of energy.
Right.
Yeah.
To his left, Richard Laddie. How are you, Richard?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, I might be bringing the energy today because Paul still seems a little bit down, but it's good to have you back and glad you've recovered. And plenty to talk about last week and the coming week. So keen to get involved.
Yeah, no, it was an eventful weekend of Super Rugby, if nothing else. Lots of points scored, some interesting games, lots going on both sides of the Tasman. I think we'll just run through it game by game. There's probably a couple of little nuggets from each one. Obviously, the big talking point was in Hamilton with the Brumbies once again rolling through another New Zealand side, but we'll get there shortly because I think we've got to start at Eden Park on Friday night where the Blues went down 14-0.
Yeah. Yes. Inside 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was
Yes.
a bit of a shock for those of us on Blues 51 plus. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, that was a very impressive performance by the Blues. To run that many points up against anyone is, it's some feat. Did we learn a lot about the Blues though? Like we're sort of applying this to games come the point end of the season when they're going to be playing the Brumbies and the Crusaders and the Chiefs and the like. Or was this just sort of what the Blues can do when they play rebel-like opposition?
There's a wee bit of flat track bully about their performance there. It's very hard to judge a team because they pretty much did everything they had to after that early onslaught by the Rebels. I guess it was good to see the backline clicking. They scored some very, very good tries. I don't know if they'll get that sort of freedom against teams like the Brumbies or some of the New Zealand teams. But it would do a lot for their confidence. But I don't think you can take too much out of that game and say, hey, the Blues have crossed a threshold or they're now fair income challenges. I don't think you take that off that game. But it was good to see them actually put a lot of phases together, backs and forwards combining well. I thought Rico really, really played very, very well against some very, very poor opposition, to be fair.
Sort of perfect game for him, right?
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
I know. What were your sort of key talking points from that one, Richard?
Yeah, much the same, really. The Blues looked great. They were throwing it around and everything was sticking. They were just getting the bounce of the ball. I was on the plus, so when they went down 14-0, I was quite happy. But it became pretty clear throughout that first half that that was a dead bet. I did think prayers for you, Patrick, on the 51 plus. It looked pretty good at halftime. I can't remember what the score was at halftime. I think it was at least sort of
I think they're at like
47-14.
Yeah, I was going to say at least 35, 40 points. So, they played well, and it was good to see. You sort of giving Rico a shout. I thought his brother played very well as well, so it's good to have him back in the mix for the Blues, and they'll be sort of happy. He's had 2 games back and looks pretty good both weeks. But yeah, the Rebels. Gosh, where do you start with them? I had some higher hopes for that game, but it might be a pretty long next few weeks for them if they sort of continue down that path, I think. What else did I say?
Yeah, I don't think there's much to say about the Rebels, right? It was nice that they went up 14-0. I think that's got to be a little bit of a concern if you're Liam McDonald the first 5 minutes. Just obviously the 71 points is great and everything, but you can't make mistakes like that at set piece time against the Brumbies in particular, or the Crusaders for that matter, or but like it's probably not the end of the world. They knew they were massive favourites against that in that game. They had probably other key areas they were looking to work on, but yeah, it's not
at that point in the game they were still easy favourites.
Oh
cheat the.
What did the price get out to? About $1.30?
Yeah.
Like
that.
Well, after being 14 down 5 minutes into the game.
I think you could have got minus 13.5 at even money at that stage was about where the line dropped to, which, boy, shout out to anyone who got on that one.
Yeah, pretty about that.
that looks pretty good. But yeah, I think the main thing for the Blues, right, it's working on those combinations. Like RTS in particular hasn't had a lot of time in the midfield next to, well, not that Bodie was there, but Stephen Perifeta played really well. And
He was great.
Yeah,
he was awesome, mate. I thought he's really threw his name in the mix for that sort of potential third vacant first 5 spot for the All Blacks. So I'm interested to see what they do there. But yeah, I thought he played great in the game.
Yeah,
tried it really well. I mean, yes, against Rebels opposition.
You can only beat what's put in front of you, right? That's
exactly.
What they say.
Plus, he doesn't look out of place in the 15 jersey either.
No.
So it gives,
fill that McKenzie role.
They do.
Yeah. In terms of that third sort of stringer, first 5'8" for the All Blacks, having that sort of flexibility.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of other options sort of putting their hand up at the moment. Josh Ioane's back this week, so we'll see what he does if he gets a bit of a run in the Chiefs jersey.
It'll be interesting to see the midfield mix they have, because there's a number of players who are putting their hands up right now. And of course, a few that have come back from injury layoffs. So it really, I'm very, very interested to see who Foster and Co select in the 12 and the 13 for the first test of the season.
Yeah, I think we all are. But I think for me, not to get too sidetracked straight away, but the big question is whether I see Jack Goodhue as a 12 or a 13 going forward, because I think that's going to inform a lot of the others, because there's a lot of probably candidates at the 12 jersey. There's obviously the Geordie Barrett situation. Quinn Tupaia has certainly gone to another level this season. I think David Havili is arguably the incumbent in the 12 jersey. Whereas I think if you see Jack as a 12, then Rieko Ioane's got to be the other standout candidate in the 13, unless
Nankiville?
Yeah, well, I mean, on form, I think I called him the form midfielder in Super Rugby. Yep. No, I don't think Leicester will get a run in the 13 straight away. I mean, I think he's going to start on the left wing, and I think he should start on the left wing at Eden Park in the start of July.
If you're listening, Foster.
Yeah.
Of course he's listening.
If he was ever a listener to the Figure Go podcast, that stopped long ago. And that was before Matt Fisk departed these shores. I can guarantee that. So, but we'll move on, because I think that pretty much sums up everything that we can learn from the Blues running riot against some pretty poor opposition for the most part. Because another team that starting to do some things, the Highlanders go to Suncorp, knock off the Reds pretty comfortably in the end, given that they were down to 13 men as well for a little bit of that game. Like, the Reds have been pretty poor for the last couple of weeks, pretty much ever since the first 20 against the Hurricanes there. They were competitive against the Chiefs, but that was a pretty beat-up Chiefs side. Does this say more to you, Richard, about the Reds maybe not being at the level they thought, or are the Highlanders, as we say in some circles, are the Highlanders back?
I don't know if I'd say the Highlanders are back, but it would be a huge confidence boost that win would have been for them, and doing it, relatively convincingly. They were down, I think 14, maybe even 17-0 pretty early in the game, and down to 13 players. But yeah, the Reds, they'll be a bit concerned. I was sort of pretty high on them even at the start of the season. I think I was throwing. I think they were paying like $2 to make the semis, and I was pretty high on that. I think that's pretty much gone now. But the Brumbies have sort of taken that number one spot clearly of the Australian teams. But kudos to the Highlanders. They had a few guys who really stood up. I thought Fakatava off the bench probably had his most impactful game of the season, and sort of what they'd be happy to see at this point. The group was massive. Who else did I have?
Marina McKelly too.
Yeah.
Just a one-man wrecking machine again.
Yeah, the yellow ball, the yellow card. Yeah, Billy Harmon had a good game as well. So, no, I think they'll take a lot from that. And we've sort of been and ahhing about whether they'll make the quarters now. I think it's pretty. Pretty clear now. I think they're on the same amount of points as the Rebels, but their points differential is about 100 less, and can't see the Rebels.
I think they'll probably be favourites when the Rebels go to Dunedin, or wherever the game is.
Yeah, safe to say. So, good on them. They bounced back 2 wins in a row. So as I said, I wouldn't say they're back, but they've got a big game this week. It's a Force, who they should put away, and we might find out a little bit more once that game's over, I think.
How about you, Paul? Any little nuggets you want to share with the punters from this one?
I think the Reds really missed their number one 10. They just lacked a wee bit of direction at times during that match against the Highlanders. So the Highlanders deserve the win, especially having to play portions of that game almost like a rugby league team. Although, I guess if Cronulla Sharks showed sometimes it's an advantage.
Don't go there.
Oh,
please.
What? I'm just saying.
Too soon, Paul.
Sometimes having less people on the field is better. I don't know why, but apparently it is.
Yeah, but the Highlanders aren't coached by Nathan Brown. Moving on.
All right, okay. But yeah, in terms of the Reds, yeah, I didn't realise how big sort of a piece to the puzzle O'Connor was. He's the business.
I think a big part of this as well, like the guy the Reds have had replacing him, he's actually impressed me a lot. But Tate McDermott really looks like he's trying to carry the team almost by himself. He's doing a lot.
He's taking too much on his own shoulders.
He looks like the weight of the world's on his shoulders in some of these games. Like he's really, I think he's at his best when he sort of lets the game come to him and he takes advantage of those lanes that open up around the ruck, and he can sort of play a natural game rather than trying to control everything. And he's trying to be the lead playmaker and the leader of the side, and sort of, I don't think that's his best role. So I think O'Connor back this week against the Blues, that'll take a lot off his shoulders and really free him up to play a bit more of his natural game. But I think it's got to be good for the Highlanders, more just the way, especially in that second half, their pack sort of took control of that game, because that's been their biggest issue all season. Is just they can't get any sort of dominance up front. Even their game against the Hurricanes down to Dunedin a few weeks ago, when they clawed their way back into it, it was off a couple of like one-off plays. Really, there was no sort of game control from either side in that one, so they'll have to be happy about that. And you sort of touched on it, Rissy, but Whakatava is
huge.
Sort of getting back. I was as guilty as anyone, sort of thinking, it's an ACL. The recovery is not as tough as it used to be for that sort of injury. He should be back, but especially the sort of way he plays, the acceleration and the lateral movement, everything, that's going to take a little bit of time to get back. So
the little pop ball inside,
how good is that? Yeah.
I mean, compared to George Gregan, I'm sure you can find better comparisons there. But yeah, it's beautiful, and then he scored that try as well. So awesome to see him playing well.
He's in the All Blacks here.
Yeah, it's only one game, right? But he's got.
Are there going to be 3 halfbacks selected?
They might take 4.
4. Holy
Depends, like,
cheapest 4 halfbacks.
Yeah. Especially not so much for the Island series, because when they go to South Africa, they've got a 2-test tour of South Africa. I think there's a chance they take 4 halfbacks and 4 hookers over there. Just
my goodness, this is ridiculous.
I don't like. We've sort of had this discussion as well, right?
We're talking about halfbacks.
Yeah. So
4 halfbacks.
It's Aaron Smith. I don't know. You guys all Brad Weber's the second best halfback in New Zealand.
I think Finlay Christie's been.
Well, then Finlay was great on the end of your tour last year. Like, there really are, for me, there's that sort of. It depends what direction you want to go between TJ. You've got Whakatava, you've got Christie.
Right, man.
Yeah, it's like
he's one probably for the future.
If you're taking a 4th, do you just take a project? But then I'd say Whakatava's probably put his nose back in front in terms of the project future. He
had a rough start to the season. Well, to be fair, the Highlanders had a rough start to the season.
The injury and everything like that. Especially against the Springboks, I think they might lean TJ just for the side. They seem to love playing him against the Springboks for
almost like another loose forward type
ability
sort of
to
halfback,
fly into Peter Steph to toy and get pushed back 5 meters, that sort of thing.
Wow.
But for me, I'd say just after with all that, well, there is also that eligibility sort of issue flying around, which we won't get into on this podcast, but it's going to be very interesting. I think, the third halfback and third first 5 are both well up for grabs over the next few weeks, and a few different people are going to be able to make a play for it depending on how the playoffs go.
Yeah, interesting to see. And there's about 6 names we've thrown out there, isn't there? So maybe they'll just take 6, Paul.
Oh, I'm done. Fairly.
Do it like all these 85s teams do. Just have a backline full of halfback. Yeah, it's the way to go. It works for the Bush Pigs in the national comp, so maybe we can learn from them.
Play small ball like the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. Get John Leslie in as a technical advisor. That can't go badly. But next game was a pretty entertaining game. One of the games of the round kicked things off on Saturday afternoon at Mount Smart Stadium. Rissy would be happy to see some good footy played at Mount Smart Stadium. For sure. Moana Pacifica running out to a big lead, but couldn't quite hold on against the Waratahs. It's hard to really. Obviously, Moana Pacifica, their quarterfinal hopes and everything like that aren't much at this stage, but it's good to see them at least being competitive in these games. They're going to keep getting some momentum and building combinations, I think, right? If nothing else,
absolutely. They got that big lead, and then they sort of just there was a few tackles. They sort of got a bit lazy on defence and all that. But they had that try in the corner, which was disallowed. I think it was Whaiganuku who had his elbow over, which would have been a great try. And that would have put them back in if they got the conversion, I think they would have been at 27, 26. Yeah, so could have gone their way, but yeah, I mean, the Waratahs. We had James Marshall on the podcast last week, and he sort of said, "Oh yeah, this is one to watch." He had the Moana Pacifica as his upset of the week, and yeah, it wasn't far off. They came out firing. Bit of a shame that the crowd wasn't as sort of big as I would have intended. I thought, Saturday afternoon would be good, but obviously
it was the
Waratahs, and still, there's still relatively Moana Pacifica, still a new team to the comp. But I mean, it would have been great for them to get a win there, get their second win of the season, but wasn't to be. But they've got a big game this week, which I'm looking forward to watching. Awesome to see Lealefano also get the 1,000 points.
1,000?
Yeah, I think he's about 7th player to get it, the first Pacifica player. So awesome that he did that. Got there playing for Moana Pacifica, and his son came out with a tee, and you saw what it meant to the rest of the team. They all, a couple of the water boy gave him a kiss on the cheek, and a few of the guys ran up and gave him a big hug. So it's cool, really cool to see just what he means to that team, and for him to sort of get to their milestone.
They had a chance. They had a chance late. I guess with teams new to a competition, it's always very, very hard to hit the ground running, especially when, in terms of Moana Pacifica, you're not actually getting first dibs on the best Pacifica players in the competition as such. So it's going to take them a while to build, and I think they've done very, very well. How did the Canes drop that game to them? You look back and what happened there? But they've played very, very well in most games this season, and have been in most of their games this season as well. They, when we first started, we thought they might struggle a wee bit against the big teams, but I think some of the bigger teams sort of took them a wee bit lightly and didn't put their best 15s out on the field, and that kept the Moana Pacifica in a lot of games. So there's a lot to build on here, both for them and the Fijian Drua, who were terrible last weekend. But we'll get to that.
They were good the week before.
They were good the week before, and as Rissy said, big game this weekend. But Moana Pacifica, they've got a lot to build on here, and they can become. I think the Tongans and the Samoans in the rugby league international sphere have shown that if you start something and start building on it, and with players like Lealefano, you can then start to attract top tier Pacifica players to the team. So it'll take a few years, and I'm sure New Zealand and Australia will do everything they can to stop the top tier. But this thing will, the calling of their sort of spiritual home, I think, will help Moana Pacifica in the next sort of 5-year sort of term. If this competition continues as the way it is, I can see that team building and building.
It would be awesome if they can get another couple of high-profile signings to come back, maybe guys playing up in Europe or something, to complement Lealefano and Sekope Kepu, and really build a little bit more hype around next season, when they won't be settled with just a bunch of New Zealand games at the start of the season, and they can be pretty competitive right through, you'd think.
Instead of being, we're 5 games in, we haven't won one.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
It's sort of like you have to wait through the first 10 weeks of the competition before you can even really have a shot. Although then they did go and beat the Hurricanes. So.
And they've still got a game to catch up on.
Yeah, I think they just announced the date for their clash with the Force.
Yeah, so that hasn't helped their season as well. All the disruptions they would have lost.
They've probably been the most disruptive team.
Yeah, it'll be 4 midweek games by the time.
So it'll be very hard. Hopefully, you presume next year they'll be able to get a good run on. And I think, as you say, Patrick, just 1 or 2 more sort of high-profile players would be huge. And there's plenty of names out there, as you said, in Europe or even in Super Rugby, who their contracts might be coming to an end in the next year or 2.
Hurricanes.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we talked about, the player that could play for Moana Pacifica last year, he was on the tip of our tongues. So, but I can't wait for this week. It's going to be great.
And we'll get to it when we preview this round, but should be a lot of fun on Saturday afternoon at Combank Stadium. But with the big game from last round, the one we've got to really talk about and give the Brumbies their dues once again. They go to Hamilton. They do the job pretty convincingly in the end. Just more of what you expect from the Brumbies, really.
I see you've got the Chiefs winning that game.
I do, but that's a typing politics. The correct result is there.
That's very naughty, isn't it?
I'd say, I mean, we I think we both picked them as
Yeah,
round,
no,
and
flying with
it
that
was your
shit.
best bet,
Yeah.
the plus, and yeah, I thought that was a great bet. 7.5 was far too many points, and I think they led the whole game, didn't they? I think they got the
Yeah.
first couple of points, and
Rona.
they just
I'm all right
Been there,
now. I'm
done that.
the safest
Been
person
there,
to be
done
with
that.
at the moment.
yeah, no, they were great,
Wow.
and just the whole their teams just so well sort of put together. You know, their front row. They just sort of just like outplayed the Chiefs everywhere. I don't think the Chiefs played badly. You know, they just sort of got outplayed by a better team. That Brumby's back row is just beautiful.
How good was Jerome Brown?
Yeah,
like he does everything now.
Yeah. He's huge.
Yeah.
Samu is huge.
I
Valentini.
was really impressed by the way Simone and Ikitau linked up in the midfield as well.
Yeah.
A couple of those moves. I think it just goes to show like it wasn't a game you think the Brumbies, they win these games in New Zealand, you're thinking 17-13, 21-18 sort of thing where it's a bit of an arm wrestle. They get a couple of tries off Rolling, but they played footy and they
it was some great tries.
Went toe to toe with the Chiefs. Like it wasn't just hold on for dear life. No, they can throw it around as well.
Nick White had an awesome game as well. You know, he's playing very, very well at the moment. So imagine it'd be interesting. I mean, imagine he'll start for the Wallabies and then
I like
the bench, you think?
German off the bench there.
It's a little bit. But yeah, they just once again looking forward to their game this week. I think the way they're playing, you know, they've been underdogs the last 3 weeks. I've tipped them as my
No respect from the bookies.
No,
Go and have a word, Paul.
I'm not sure what they have to do, and I see they open around 240 or 245 earlier this week. They're now into. Last time I looked, with 230.
I think it's come back out a bit.
Has it?
Since they're 260 now because they were close to $2 and I thought it was going to do the same as it did against the Hurricanes and the Highlanders, but then something's obviously
someone out.
Yeah. Lolasio is out, so that's
that's huge.
Not ideal.
Chiefs lost 3 in a row at home, so I don't know whether they're running the alarm bells. Obviously,
they get
a few big games out. Yeah,
literally all the reinforcements back the next couple of weeks.
You imagine they'll probably be coming right at the right time. And as I said, I don't think they played badly.
No.
I don't think they'll sort of look at that tape and think, what if? I think they just got outplayed by a very, very good Brumbies team.
They're a good team.
Yeah,
they are.
I'm still going to stick with my take from last week, though. I think the Chiefs will just, get everyone back, get a couple of easier games. They've now played the Brumbies and the Reds, so I think they've got, one of the easier run-ins into the quarterfinals. Get everyone back. Retallick and Kane, and Sam Kane, the baby will be a few weeks old. He'll manage to get a bit of sleep by that stage, and they'll give the Blues and the Crusaders and the Brumbies plenty to think about in the semis and finals, presuming they make it that far. But
still Crusaders Chiefs final.
Maybe not Crusaders.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, well, it's because it's going to depend on how the seedings fall. That might not be, but I think the Chiefs are probably going to be in that 4-5 game, and the Crusaders will be in the 2-3. So yeah, honestly. Give me a nice juicy point start when the Chiefs go to Eden Park for the semi-final. I'll be all over it.
Don't mind that.
Anything else you want to add from that game, Paul?
No, except that the Brumbies are a very, very good team, and they've beaten Kiwi sides 3 weeks in a row now as underdogs.
Yeah, had themselves into favourites against the Highlanders, but it was
not when we got on.
Not when we got on. Yeah.
For the purposes of this podcast, they were underdogs. So. That's all we need.
That was a huge move.
Yeah. And then it happened the weekend again against the Hurricanes. I don't know what the bookies are not pricing into these early lines, but
it's okay.
We'll have to get a bookie on next week to explain it when. Yeah.
Last week, I was on one of the TRB's Facebook posts I saw. There was a few people saying, there's no way the Brumbies are ever going to win a game in New Zealand, but that's already been done. So this week, I'm sure they're saying, they've got the Crusaders and Blues coming up. So, we'll see what happens. Couple of them,
And now they've won 2 of their last 3 visits to Hamilton. They should have won in Christchurch last year. It's not. Yeah.
I guess because Canberra's sort of the Hamilton of Australia.
I'll let you expand on that one, Paul.
Well, what do you do there? It's the city of the future, I guess, both of them.
I think there must be some sort of orb of football ability in Canberra, and the Raiders and Brumbies both can't be good at the same time. They have to,
but like the Storm and the Rebels.
Yeah. What, is that just Craig Bellamy?
The Rebels are never going to be good there because I don't see the Storm falling off the face of the earth.
I did enjoy it. Was it Craig Bellamy was at the Magic Round game with Dave Rennie? Jeez, imagine if you put Bellamy in the Rebels changing sheds after one of those games, he'd tear shreds off them all. But
Dave Rennie's feeling a wee bit more confident this season.
I was just going to say as well, I think maybe the most intriguing selection dilemma out of I'd say is the Wallabies loose forward trio. Talk about options, like the way Jerome
We can play that whole Brumbies back row, but then there's obviously
where you go. Like Will Harris has been
Will Harris,
great.
yeah.
Like all three Waratahs loose forwards. The Reds are like Harry Wilson had a pretty ugly injury on Friday night, so I don't know how he'll be tracking. But they've got all three of those Eastern Seaboard teams have got plenty of Fraser McRate's been in awesome form as well. They I don't know if they've quite got. They don't really have an Artie Severe or a Sam Kane amongst those ranks, but they've got such depth, which is a huge thing to have in the loose forward trio. So
not too many teams have an Artie Severe.
No, that's true. The Hurricanes do though. So
they do, and they do this week as well.
Yes, they do. We'll get to that shortly. Might let Paul host next week. I think that could be pretty interesting. See if what sort of route we go down. But
where are you going?
Oh, actually, I'm here next week, but the 2 weeks after that, I'll be having a few cocktails by the pool in Dinner Island. So, doing a fact-finding mission with my friends over at the Drua.
Will they be in town at the same time?
Unfortunately, not. I'm flying out the hours before they play in Lautoka, which is just very tough to take. But no one really cares about my holiday plans listening to this podcast, so we need to talk about the Western Force instead, a topic that just gets people's hearts racing.
Wow, they are the rebels of the West.
I don't even know what that means.
That's a bit mean.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right.
They're probably better than that, but they put up a fight in the first half.
Yeah.
But then it was pretty much just huge performances from Whanganuku and Jordan.
Pretty
really
much, right,
just blew it out. Hey, was it a hat trick each? It was, wasn't it? Yeah. So
was it Whanganuku's first try, the set piece move right on half time off the scrum flag? How do you have three guys on Moanga, no one within like 20 meters of the best try scorer in Super Rugby?
Yes, leading the count now of 9. Yeah. But yeah, Crusaders just sort of got back to gear. We talked last week, they've been a bit slow this season. They obviously came off that loss to the Waratahs and been a very unreliable team covering, but they managed to cover. Good for my multi on Saturday night. And I don't know, it could be, I don't know, it's the Force, but it is not easy to go play the Force over in Perth, and they did, and they got a 40.1. So interesting to see how they bounce back from that. Well, not bounce back, how they sort of build from that this week.
Yeah, tough task this Friday night. Did you learn anything about the Crusaders in that one, Paul? Other than they have Will Jordan and Lester Whanganuku on their team?
Yeah, they're still a team to be reckoned with.
Hot take.
I think if you look at the second half, you think, well, it became a wee bit of touch rugby. But I think the fact that they actually ground down that Western Force team in that first half, which allowed them that freedom in the second half. So I think we're seeing the return of the Crusaders that we've known for the past 10, 15 years. I still like them to win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. I think they're still joint favourites with the Blues, are they? There or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was $2.75 each last time I checked.
$2.70, $6 for the Brumbies and Chiefs now joint.
$6. Patrick.
Yeah, not Chiefs $6. Don't hate it. Yeah, what you're getting $5 Crusaders Chiefs final. Just put that one in the back pocket.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add from that one. I think the Crusaders will do that to teams once they get on top. They're pretty hard to stop, but there is still the concern that they're only playing their best footy in the last 30 minutes of games, and we'll get to that shortly. But the Brumbies are another team you can give a head start to. Last game, Sunday afternoon, lovely afternoon for Mother's Day in Wellington, and the Hurricanes put on a show. I don't know, with the Drua just weren't really there to play after probably a pretty emotional week for them last week. Or
I saw them down at the Johnsonville Mall on Saturday afternoon. So a couple of the guys coming out of the barbershop, and I saw a few of them wandering around. So maybe they'd been spending too much time at Wellington's finest shopping establishment.
Is that Wellington's finest? The Johnsonville Mall. Wow.
Unfortunately,
sad state of affairs there, I tell you what.
Fortunately, our Cornick Place correspondent wasn't out on Saturday night to let us know if they spotted them at El Horno, so that would have probably been the bigger indicator. But
we'll have James Marshall next week, won't we?
I don't
Oh,
know.
no.
Are you two going to be sharing a jug of sangria? Is that the plan?
Not me. Anyway,
Um,
look, the Hurricanes did the business, and they did it without Geordie, and they did it without Artie. So they get some
and
big,
without Ruben.
and they get some big guns back this weekend. Things are looking good.
Yeah, Josh Morby was my main takeaway. Like, obviously not the toughest opposition, but
Did he score a hat trick?
he scored at least 2. I
He
might have stopped counting.
did. He played very, very well.
Yeah. And I think the Geordie at 12 experiment, he did score a hat trick. Looks more and more viable the better he plays at 15.
Yeah. I prefer Geordie in the 15.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, all things being equal, I'd prefer Geordie in the 15. But if you want to put your best team on the park, it's like we're getting to crunch time here, Chris. The Hurricanes coaching staff are going to have to decide on a backline at some stage. With the Dreamers still alive this week, Jamie Booth and Aiden Morgan in the halves continues the
Incredible, 13 rounds in. New backline every week.
So
I still want to see Geordie.
On Morby, I thought he was awesome.
In the 12 with Ruben Love at 10 and Morby at 15 before
Sullivan 13.
Yeah. I just at least want to see how that looks. And then
it'd be a new backline as well. So
it would be, and then as well, like you can sort of Ruben and Geordie can both sort of play 10.5 almost, but both have a very good running game. Both can kick. Pressure's not on either of them to really. Geordie will probably be the dominant voice there, but I don't know. Josh Morby's looked good, is really what I was saying.
He did. No, he did. Albeit against.
Yeah.
But no, he did. He looked very good. He slotted in very, very nicely. His positional play, I thought, was very good. So,
and also just on the note we're touching on, the Canes bringing up the half century of players who worn a Hurricanes jersey this season, which is just
raise the bat.
Yeah, not something.
They?
Yeah. They've
Wow.
played, and I think 8 or 9 of them are hookers. They've been through that many, so it's
wow,
quite an achievement.
that's impressive. Yeah. Just clicking. If you're a club rugby player in Wellington at the moment, you'd be, getting excited. You might get your call up.
Yeah, there's always.
We're not going to go to the under 85s Eastbourne team.
Terrible time to get an injury.
I was just on the verge of a call up there. Yeah, it might be a bit small to play Lockett at rugby level, but you never know. That pretty much does us for our round 12 recap. I think cover the Brumbies are obviously the key takeaway. A couple other big performances, but sort of in this section where there's a lot of Trans-Tasman games, you're going to get a few big scores, and we have a few big lines this week as well as we head into round 13. Kicks off Friday night down in Dunedin. The rejuvenated Highlanders taking on the Western Force. They're one of 3 teams paying $1.09 head to head. As the Force come to town. Point start currently at 15.5. Should the Highlanders be $1.09 against anyone yet?
I can understand why. As you say, they're on the rise, and I don't see the Force getting too close to these guys. I think the line's probably exactly where it should be, around 15.5. But I don't have any sort of lean either way at that sort of line. I probably would lean the Force way, but boy, they've got to be hurting after that loss last weekend. I understand why the Highlanders are $1.09.
Yeah, when I saw 15.5 points, I couldn't believe. I think the Highlanders obviously, as I said before, I don't think they're back, but they would have taken a lot of confidence from that one last week. But to be back in the team that has been, I don't know, pretty underwhelming all year, apart from a couple of good performances. Even their wins against sort of Moana Pacifica and the Drua weren't hardly convincing. But they're kind of a good win against what we thought was a good Reds team in Queensland. Not so sure anymore, but I will not be diving into the minus in that game. I think the Force, they're not a great team, but they're probably good enough that they can put a few points on the board and put a bit of pressure on the Highlanders and keep it closer than that.
We got teamless?
We do. Obviously, the big talking point there is Sam Gilbert's been given the 10 jersey for the Highlanders.
We did say that one player that has been struggling is Hunt.
Is this desperation or good to have a go in a game where you should be winning? And if you can't beat the Force even with Sam Gilbert at 10, it's probably got bigger problems.
I think they're sort of hedging their bets slightly here. Let's give him a go. Let's see how well he goes. And if we have to, we'll know exactly what we're going to get out of him before we get to that stage, sort of thing. So, yeah, that's.
Do we know whether he's played?
He played 10 at schoolboy footy, apparently.
Okay.
And so I think it was Clark Dermody or one of the coaches was quoted as saying, he's actually been playing out of position for us on the wing or.
Yeah, because he has been playing on the wing most of the season now.
But for me, I'd say, sure, give him a go. But realistically, they're going to be playing the Blues or the Crusaders in week 1 of the playoffs. They're not going to be starting Sam Gilbert at 10 for that game.
No.
Well,
This is your chance to get a bit of confidence in the Mitch Hunt, give him a
Or
run.
maybe he just needs a rest. I mean,
He's on the bench still.
He's still on the bench. Yeah, he is too.
I would have thought, you want to.
And he's come off the bench a couple of games, played 15 once or twice.
Yeah,
So that's sort of.
Really, to be, to fire a shot in the playoffs, they need Mitch Hunt playing close to where he was last year during Super Rugby Trans-Tasman.
Yeah.
And I think the only way that's going to happen now, it's not time, you're not going to just give him 3 weeks off and then chuck him in the snake pit at Eden Park. You probably need to just hope he plays himself into form and then really give him and let's go the other way and actually give him a week off at club rugby to get a bit of confidence that way. But this sort of 50-50, I get the idea of blooding a new first 5, but I get maybe they have just given up on the season and they're trying to see what Gilbert offers them.
He might have answered blinder. We'll see.
He might.
That'll force their hand.
See what they do.
Just on the note of the Force as well, I think we sort of think, they're going to New Zealand, they'll struggle, especially if they were losing by 40-odd points at home. But their 2 games in New Zealand to close Trans-Tasman last year only lost by 10 at Eden Park and 8, obviously famously down in Christchurch. So they can, put it. They did lose to the Hurricanes by 37 at McLean Park the round before, but they, can put up a fight in New Zealand. And the Highlanders, even though they were impressive against 3, it's not like they were putting up tons of points. It was really just that late surge. So I think 15. It's not. I think if you're on the 15, you're going to not be feeling great about it with 20 minutes to go, and you're going to need some late points from the Highlanders. Unless
Fill out for the tower comes on, little flick pass, boom, there we are, trying to the post.
Not a line I'm overly confident about either. So probably I'll look to bet around that one. Maybe if the Highlanders have got some good outside backs once again named. Fertilli Pye named on the wing and team in the midfield was interesting to me. I don't really know. Maybe Connor Garden-Bachop could have a big game here after what Will Jordan did to the Force last week. That he's sort of been threatening a breakout all season, really. And
I thought it was one of his best games last week, actually. Garden-Bachop and obviously Manga Jensen had a, 2 of those 2 young guns we seem to talk a lot about. But I think those 2 are sort of coming right at the right time of the season. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see. Probably, if I was having the same game multi, I'd probably chuck Thomas Manga Jensen try scorer in there. I think
he was great last week as well.
Yeah, he scored a couple last few weeks. So
I think that's enough Highlanders first Force now because we've got to talk about Brumbies Crusaders, right? Game of the round, no doubt. We've already talked about some of the odds fluctuations. At time recording, the Brumbies are back out to 260 head to head. Crusaders $1.45 and 5.5 point favourites. Where do we start with this one? Where's the game going to be won and lost?
Well, our weatherman Patrick Jones had a wee look at the Canberra weather for tomorrow night, and it's not looking great from memory. So probably in the Fords, and from what we've seen looking at the Crusaders team they've sort of probably named their strongest full pack in the last few weeks. Obviously big in getting Scott Barrett back. And I think they seem to have decided on that back row of Matera, Blackadder, and Carlton Grace, who seem to be playing pretty good. And then Barrett and Whitelock. There's only one non-international in the full pack, I think. Oh no, Carlton Grace as well. Has Carlton Grace played?
Carlton Grace has been in All Black. Yeah,
against Japan or something like that.
No, I think he was. I don't remember exactly because he picked up an injury last year. He was in the squad. I think he injured himself at training. And missed it.
So just from looking at that, there's probably
Fletcher Neal.
Yeah, Fletcher Neal's the one. And then you've got Moanga, Bridge, Havili, Goodhue, Reese, and Jordan in the back line. So Gosh, that's a good team. But yeah, I think in the forwards, and from what we've seen from the Brumbies, I mean, they've got the form 4-pack and the comp, and they seem to have get a bit of consistency as well. They've had a bit of a shuffle in the back. Tom Hooper's playing 6 this week, so Valentini's getting the week off. It's a bit of a shame. Valentini's do we know if he's injured or is just
Haven't heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. So it's a bit of a shame because he's been probably one of the players at the comp the last sort of 3 or 4 rounds. So and Lolesio out at 10 as well. So they are some pretty massive outs. But from what we saw from the Brumbies last week, they're well in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see another upset, to be honest.
So are you worried at all about the Crusaders' sort of tendency to ease their way into games could be an issue against this Brumbies team who will not be easing their way into game?
No, not really. I'm more concerned about the conditions that they'll be playing under, and the fact that the Brumbies their forward pack has been very, very good against the Kiwi teams. And I think, I mean, that's a great loose forward trio battle that we're going to have between the two. Yeah. I favour the Brumbies slightly there on the loose forward side of things, just because they've been so good more consistently than the Crusaders, and they've been a lot more settled. So I really like the +5.5 here. I've been taking the Brumbies plus the points the last 3 weeks. Hasn't done me wrong. I'm not going to jump off that train until the conductor stops at a station and says, get off, there's no more money left.
No, absolutely not. And I think the Crusaders, another area, obviously we saw it fight them quite hard against the Blues, was their discipline. Not a team you want to be giving away easy penalties against. In the Brumbies, the Chiefs gave away a few kickable penalties in the first half, which sort of allowed the Brumbies to keep their nose in front. And obviously, it's really interesting to see the rolling maul here. It's sort of the immovable object meets the unstoppable force with the Crusaders. Maul defense being what we know how good they've been under Jason right there, but the Brumbies, if there's any rolling maul that could maybe crack that, I'd say they're the ones. So really interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, a few stats for you for those ones like the stats. So Crusaders have won 4 straight. It was the Brumbies in Canberra, 10 straight overall. The Crusaders have won 5 of the 6 this year on the road, but they've only covered 2 of their last 8, and the Brumbies have won 5 straight at home and covered 4 straight. So yeah, I think that +5.5 probably. I wouldn't be surprised to see a close one.
Big out for the Brumbies too.
Yeah.
That's the thing that just look. I don't have a lot of confidence in this line, but I'm still sticking with the Brumbies +5.5.
I think they're going to need a huge game from Nick White. He's really going to have to control everything.
Just don't take too much on.
Yeah, well, I think White's a different player to Tate McDermott in that he's more of a game manager. He will be the general of the back line there, so he can do that. But yeah, it's just whether the Brumbies midfield, which was so impressive against the Chiefs, can be unlocked in the same way with Iona running the cutter. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that's a really great battle as well. You talk about Simone and Ikitau versus Havili and Goodhue. I think Goodhue and Havili are both great defensive players, but they're going to need to be at their absolute best to shut those two down.
And they haven't played a heap together recently. The midfield's kind of been chop and change. The Crusaders the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks. So, and I know we probably still haven't seen the best of Goodhue since his return. So, yeah, plenty of battles to look forward to on this one.
Oh yeah, no, all over the park. The outside backs as well. And, yeah, loose forward trio in particular. I'm very much looking forward to it. But it should just be a cracker of a game. I'll give a spoiler alert for our best bet section. My value bet is in this game, but it's not Crusaders 11-20. So,
wow,
something to keep an eye
unheard of.
Unless there's anything else, I don't think there's any specific other than just being really excited for that one. So
yeah, just a great game. Heaps of good matchups to look forward to, and it'll be. I'm probably staying up for that one. That's for sure. Well, past my bedtime, but it'll be worth it. Hopefully.
I have no doubt it will be.
We'll move along to Combank Stadium on Saturday afternoon, 4:30 New Zealand time, kickoff for the Fijian Drua versus Moana Pacifica. Probably one of the most anticipated matches of Super Rugby Pacific as a whole. Like I know it's been a tough logistical season for Sanzar, but I think you could have put this game pretty much anywhere else and it would have created a better spectacle. But it should be a lot of fun anyway. Drua actually opened as slight favourites, which I think any sort of odds would have maybe surprised me a little bit for this one. I didn't really have a strong take, but they're currently $1.72 head to head Moana Pacifica 205, and it's 1.5 point start. You leaning one way or another for this one, Paul?
Yeah, Moana Pacific and they must have come in slightly.
They were.
I
It was
think
bigger on
like a 220, or I'm sure they were slightly bigger when that market opened.
the
initially.
Drua were $1.55 and they were $2.35 at opening. So it's been it's a Brumby-like move.
I was very, very attracted by the 235 on the Moana Pacifica. I'm still happy to take them as a slight underdog as well. I don't see too much between these two teams, but I see a little more room for improvement in the Moana Pacifica side than I do in the Fijian Drua. So I'm happy to. One thing you do know that's going to happen, there are going to be some huge hits in this game.
Oh, yeah.
But at the moment, if you got the 235 on Moana Pacifica, you've done very, very well for yourself. But I'm still happy to take them at better than even money.
Mm-hmm. You leaning the same way, Richard?
I think so. Yeah, I like you look at the last couple of weeks. Moana Pacifica got within 6 points of both the Rebels and not Brumbies, the Waratahs. The Waratahs coming off that win against the Crusaders. And yeah, Moana Pacifica super impressive in the sort of first 30 minutes of that game, and will probably be kicking themselves. They weren't able to sort of finish it off. They had the chances, but yeah, as a slight underdog, I agree with the sentiment about the location of the game. Imagine if it was, like Mount Smart, or whether it was
Apia would have been a good one.
So anywhere in Fiji, So, but I think the Drua, I was pretty disappointed by their performance last week. I mean, probably hope it's just a one-off for them, but they'll sort of be hurting, and I think Moana Pacifica might come in just wanting it a bit more. And
it was a pretty classic sort of letdown look-ahead sandwich for the Drua last week with the game in Suva the week before.
And maybe they were looking forward to this game as well, because they were both only one game each, so huge. But yeah, I'm expecting plenty of points, but a razzle dazzle, maybe a little try scorer, same game multi could be the go on this one. I think
these matchups in the back line are, they certainly whet the appetite. A bit of Danny Tuala versus Kalaveti Revolvo. Can I interest anyone in Tamosi Tawatawanawa versus Nasir Atave?
I'll take that one.
They should be a lot. I hopefully both set pieces are just going to be an absolute disaster. So we don't have to worry about that. It's not going to ruin the game with one team just not being able to get their hands on the ball. And
hopefully no rolling moles.
I think,
unlikely.
Unlikely. Yeah. The offloads versus rolling balls count will be significantly in offloads' favour in this one. Should both teams good. Good to see Lincoln McClutchy getting start at 10 for Moana Pacifica as well. Obviously, Christian Leilefano has been absolutely massive for them all season, but this should be a game where maybe Lincoln, after the tough scene at the end of the Rebels game, can get a bit of confidence back and get some front football and have some fun. So this is going to be a great watch. Not the same stakes obviously as Crusaders Brumbies, but a lot of fun. And one for the same game multis, there'll be try scorers all over the place. I
don't know. I presume there's not a total points line, but I'd say whatever it is, little go on the over in that game. I think
it's got 42-38 written all over it, right?
Yeah.
Should be a lot of fun. Blues Reds, a lot of fun. $1, I think the Blues are into now, which with James O'Connor back, I was surprised that the Blues were, I think, 15.5 win favourites at open 14.5, and now 20.5.
I'm happy to take the 20.
You are?
I am. Plus 20.5.
Yeah.
Look, the Blues aren't going to have the same sort of freedom that they had against the Rebels last weekend. The one thing that you get with Brad Thorne trained sides, coach sides, they'll be able to tackle, and they'll have a game plan, a very simple game plan that if they stick to, they'll be able to keep this game well within that 20.5 point spread. So, and with O'Connor back, I know it usually takes players a game or two before they sort of get up to speed again, but he'll be a big plus for the Reds. So, I don't understand the drift.
No, I'm with you, especially with O'Connor back. I thought I would thought 15.5 was probably too much in the first place, but the Reds they were very underwhelming last week, but I think O'Connor back's huge, and the Blues, they're not going to get the same freedom this week. You look at that sort of Reds backline, and there's plenty of potential there. McDermott, O'Connor, Pataya, Basami, Josh Fluke, Vunivalu and Jock Campbell. So I mean, there's points to be scored there, and it's just about whether they can tackle or not. And I think as Paul said, Bradford teams he would have been pretty pissed off for that game last week, you imagine. And I think that they would have done a bit of practice on that this week, and hopefully they can. Well, not hopefully. I'm sure the Blues will win, but 20.5, far too much.
Well, they're kind of back. It takes a lot of pressure off McDermott as well, and so I think we'll see him running the game a lot more with a lot more freedom and or a lot more with the pressure released, I guess. So yeah, I look at the 20.5. I just
you see that with the Blues against the Drua and the Forster 2 weeks before. They got the job done, but it was hardly sort of convincing, and they struggled to cover those weeks. And even the Blues in the first 5 minutes of that game going down 14-0, it shows they're sort of susceptible to leaking a few easy points. So yeah, not for me.
Counterpoint: the Reds lost to the Highlanders last week.
Yes, I know.
This game is not at home. I think the Blues are 10 points better than the Highlanders, you'd have to say.
So on that logic, Moana Pacifica beat the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are playing the Waratahs this week, so Waratahs are going to win.
The last Moana Pacifica Hurricanes game, I think the Hurricanes won by 50.
So it'll be a draw between the Waratahs and the Canes.
You've really lost me here. I think need to get a bit more Sangria back in your system to start making sense, Paul. But yeah, I'm off the Reds. I think they were bad last week. That was to not, the Warriors-esque performance with the two-man advantage. Yeah, sure, O'Connor back is big, but they're at a massive disadvantage up front here. The Blues, I think, are going to have as much ball as they want, especially without Harry Wilson and no Fraser McRae either in this team. I think the Blues will have a lot of ball, a lot of time to do what they want. Nice evening in Auckland on Saturday evening, even if it's a 10-point game with 15 minutes to go, this could very easily blow out. So I was super keen on the 15. I'm still happy to take the 20. The Blues especially until they've got their top spot locked up. I can't see the Blues taking the foot off the gas. Beauden Barrett's actually kind of got a point to prove after the way Perifeta's been playing. Obviously, there's that race for the All Black 10 jersey as well, and that backline too. Now they're playing together for the second week in a row outside Bodie, so they're only going to start gelling better. Papali, Satutu, Akiri Iwane's look good. Yeah, I'm pretty keen on the Blues here. Pretty keen to get bet against the Reds.
Nice.
So you've already nailed your colours to mask for the late game, though? You're on the Waratahs?
No, I'm on the Canes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I don't follow your logic. Yeah.
Right.
6.5, is it?
Yeah, I think this one's been a bit all over the place too, sort of dancing around that 6.5, 7.5 mark.
That's the bet of the week.
Bet of the week?
Yeah.
But this absolutely seems like a game the Hurricanes sleepwalk through for the first 65 minutes, right?
Go down 14, 17 nil early.
Stop it.
End up winning 13 plus though.
That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to win 13.
I like Canes 1-12 here as a bonus back play. But yeah, the Waratahs, I think they're niggly enough they can make the Canes work, which has proved problematic for the Hurricanes in the past. Obviously, they looked pretty good last week. They get a few key names back, and the likes of Andy and Geordie, both a couple of the best players in the world. Always nice to throw in, but
fresh.
Yes. Yeah, I think the Waratahs can muddy this up enough to make it a competition. Personally.
Yeah, the Hurricanes have won 3 straight in Sydney and 4 straight overall against Waratahs.
They did make a game against one of the worst Waratahs teams in the history of Super Rugby last year. Yeah. And that
is it like 50, 60 or something like that?
Like 100 and something points scored.
Yeah, that opening game of Super Rugby.
Prayers for those in the under of that game. Yeah, that's right. That was wild. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see a few points. I think the Waratahs play a pretty exciting brand of footy. Some of those tries they scored. I don't know if you saw that try that was disallowed. The Waratahs try where Parisi sort of chipped it through and then passed it off to the winger. It came back because of the Tavatavanawa was out for about a minute before the end of it. But yeah, they played a good brand. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a few points scored in this game. To be honest, I think I'll be on the over. But yeah, I think I'm siding with Paul with I think the Hurricanes will be too good. I mean, we did see what the Waratahs can do when they sort of show up, against the Crusaders, and they sort of held on as well, So they not only started strong, but they were able to sort of hold off a pretty a firing sort of Crusaders in that last for 15, 20 minutes. And the Hurricanes, it's never. I never feel that confident that diving into them as a 6+ point favorite, but I think I'll go with it.
2+ point favorite.
Guy, get on.
I think I'll go with it. Yeah.
The 6.5, it's like probably about right. I just think with that bonus back, 290 for 1 to 12 looks pretty nice. I could see this being a pretty frustrating watch as a Canes fan. So
Yeah, I did have that down as my
I'll probably
bonus back bet, but I changed it.
All right, yeah. I'll probably just have $140 cash, so I might go buy myself a couple of jugs of sangria with it. Last game of the round.
I fear the Rebels.
Yeah,
I fear for them.
Bounce back spot for the Chiefs.
Look out.
A few big ins there for the Chiefs. One J Ioane, one B Weber. Certainly in the halves there, so that's obviously going to help. You get Sam Kane, Luke Jacobson, Finau, loose forward trio. Looks pretty nice. Giving a couple of guys a week off. Alex Nankivell certainly earned the rest.
Deserves it.
Yeah, after the way he's been playing, but it's still a very imposing looking Chiefs side. Yeah, big drop. They've named Andrew Callaway at 13, which can only end badly the way I'm looking at these two lineups. So that was one area I did want to touch on, and I think the Hurricanes should have a bit of joy. Parisi and Fekete, they're good with ball in hand, but still not convinced about them defensively. So I think the Geordie Barrett, Balin Sullivan combo could be able to have a bit of make some hay there if they get conditions suit. But likewise, this Stacey Ely, Andrew Callaway midfield, Quintapai might be putting the second hand on the All Black 12 jersey after this game on Sunday, I reckon.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Rebels last week was so poor. I don't know what line you'd have to give me for me to, I thought the line would be a little bit bigger after the Rebels. I mean, they are playing at home, obviously, and they sort of put up that fight against the
maybe Rebels to score first.
Crusaders, and then maybe Rebels halftime, and then
did they put up a fight against the Crusaders, or the Crusaders just dropped every pass in the first?
Forgot how to catch the ball.
They could have been 30-3 up at half time.
And they held off against my Pacific, but probably should have lost that game as well. Yeah, so
this line's way too low for me. I couldn't believe it. When the Chiefs, they've had a couple of rough weeks, but they get so many players back. If you compare this to what the Crusaders and the Blues have done, there's not that big a difference between these sides.
Petty Gus coming off the bench could cause some damage.
Not worse.
After what Akira Ioane and those Pablo Matera is still running down the left wing of that Navy Park from that game on the Sunday afternoon. Peter Gus, if he'd been starting, I was going to tip him for a double. I think he could. Jacobson's another one.
So Jacobson to score a try would be a good one to.
Josh Lloyd,
looking to
both can do. Natua Arakoya played junior AFL for New Zealand, so he'll be right at home in Melbourne, maybe.
Yeah.
Good one for all the listeners there, Paul.
Sorry.
I don't think we need to spend much more time on that game, and we've been recording for almost an hour. So, should we get some best bets from the panel?
Do it.
Paul, I very graciously gave you a 3 out of 6 since you didn't get your tips in last week. So, it's all to play for in the tipping comp. Me and Rissy both getting underdog of the week up again with the Brumbies. Will the Brumbies be anyone else's underdog this week? Let's find out. We'll start off, as always, with best bets. I'll let you have the floor, Rissy. What's your best bet for this week?
I don't really know why I wrote this down, but I'll stick with it. Force plus 15.5. Yeah, I sort of I do think that it's more just against the Highlanders as opposed to my faith in the Force. I think. Yeah, so I'm happy. I'll take that. With the point start.
A convincing argument. You, Paul?
Canes minus 6.5. Thank you.
Perez. Chiefs minus 15.5. Yes, so we'll keep betting against the Rebels. Got a bit of value for the punters, Richard?
Go for one of my favourite bets, the halftime full time. Drew a halftime or one Pacific full time, $8.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I'm also going for a halftime full time. Brumbies halftime, Crusaders full time, $6.50.
Is this your value?
Yeah.
Is it? Wow.
What's your value bet? $1.80?
Paul's just shocked you can tip out options over $2.
Wow, me. $6. Oh my goodness. TOB loves you. I can't go. Oh, no, I can't do one now.
What's your value bet, Paul?
Oh,
I see you don't have anything written down there.
I don't have anything written down. What was yours? Drew a halftime, won a Pacific full time.
Yeah.
Wow,
$8.
Oh, crikey.
Let's just Heinz head to head. $1.09.
I was just taking Pacifica half full time.
No, it's probably not too bad, is it? Have a look. See what it's paying.
Getting 270 for that?
Yeah, that's value. Oh, that's value.
I'll give you.
Anything's value at the right price.
Yeah,
that's
what they
value.
say,
Yeah.
Since you're so well prepared this segment, Paul, do you want to lead us off with your upset alert?
Brumbies, 1-12.
Richard?
You'd be gutted if they won 13 plus, wouldn't you? I'll just go Brumbies head to head.
I have them on a Pacifica written down. The price isn't quite as appealing, but still getting better than 2-1. I think that's a great bet.
It's still upset, yeah.
That counts. Obviously, Super Rugby bonus back and same game claim running on all the games this week. Once again, if you don't know all the T's and C's, head to the Punters Lounge because I will mess them up if I try and explain them. But what's your favourite winning team and margin bet this week, Paul?
Chiefs 13 and over.
What price are we getting for that?
$1.70, are you?
$1.57.
Okay.
Not bad. Richard?
Blues 1-12.
Oh,
$4.
interesting.
Yeah, they'll win, but I just wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit closer.
Fair enough. I did that last week with the Crusaders and it did not go well for me. So
no, it's true.
not really one to throw stones. That's why I'm taking Hurricanes 1-12 at 290.
Yeah, that's what I had before, but I changed it.
And what's your multi-anchor for all your overball multi-busters this week, Richard?
Just going Hurricanes head to head. Can't see them losing that. $1.37.
That's pretty nice. Paul, multi-anchor?
Chiefs -6.5 at the alternate point start.
I have just opened that little tab there as well. Chiefs -7.5, $1.33 for me. Chuck that in all your multis and be a nice little way to finish the weekend off on Sunday afternoon watching Peter Gus-Sowakula carry 6 guys over the try line.
PGS.
All right, now tipping comp time because, like I said, it is it's all neck and neck here. 29 out of 57 for me, 28 for Paul, 27 for Richard. All to play for as we get to the business end of the season. We start off. We already know where Richard's going with his opening tip of the round. You're taking the plus on Friday night in Dunedin.
Yep.
Highlanders -15.5. Paul, which side are you on?
Force.
I will take the Highlanders. Brumbies +5.5.
I'll take Brumbies, yeah.
Brumbies.
Yeah, I'm going to take Crusaders.
Can get that point back?
We're all on Moana Pacifica.
Yep.
+1.5.
Yep.
You two are on Reds +20.5.
Yep. So I'm yep.
I'm not. I will take the -6.5 for the Hurricanes.
Yep.
Richard?
I'll take the plus.
Can I sell anyone on Rebels +25.5?
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Well, there's going to be some movement on the table.
Is it?
There's a couple of different ones.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, probably only just to watch us, just in an attempt to try sneak one back at you.
He's playing catch up.
Yeah, there's a couple
That's what
of...
you got to do when you
Catch up.
down by 2.
Got to put the cards on the table. And if you made it through this hour of insight/nonsense, depending on what side of the table you fall on, got a little treat for all the punters. Obviously,
Promo code?
we sure do, Paul.
Wow.
I'm sure you've already taken
is that?
advantage of that. It's promo code SR Pacific. Go Saints, one word, no spaces. SRPACIFIC. Go into the little deposit section of the TAB website. There's a box there that says enter your promo code. Into promo code SR Pacific, and you'll get a little $10 bonus bet to use on Super Rugby Pacific this week. It's open until midnight on Sunday morning. First 250 customers, so get in fast because it will go like hotcakes.
Whatever happens first.
Yes.
And only one per customer.
One per customer, of course. I know you've already tried that one out, Paul. So
Capitals? No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
It's all capitals here, so I'll put that down for transparency's sake. Yeah. But good luck with your bonus bets this week, punters. Good luck with all your punting. Hopefully find a few winners. We'll be back next Thursday to preview round 14 actually of Super Rugby Pacific. So talk to you then. Cheers.